How does this work? And we're live! Welcome to the Crafty Boys. We talk about a bunch of crap and drink beer at the same time because we enjoy it. Hello, boys.
Hello, it's
Hello.
Friday. Time to party. So we're gonna do it online because we're too old to
it's
go to
good.
the
We're
bars.
too old. Have we become too old and inflexible
Not at
as to
all.
have outlived our usefulness?
It's just that I live in Toronto, and bars aren't as fun in Toronto.
That's a good point. So were you actually out doing something prior to the show today? Yeah.
Yes, I was watching Martin Scorsese's latest.
Oh, Flowers of the Killer Moon.
Yeah.
I read the book mid last year
Mm.
when I heard it was before the film came out, and so I went out and grabbed a copy of the book. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Highly recommend anyone who has not read the book do that, then watch the film. Which, by the way, I haven't watched the film yet. I'm assuming it was really good.
It was Martin Scorsese doing exactly what Martin Scorsese does.
Excellent. All right. Well, before we talk about more films, how about you tell us what beer you're drinking this evening?
Okay, so over the last couple of shows, we've been having this chat about, well, so where is craft beer at this point in history? Like, is it a cause that's had its day and is now on its way out? Like, it seems like all the tricks have been turned into, gimmicks, and the gimmicks are getting tiresome and old. So what's left? Well, let me suggest to you that perhaps what's left is going back to basics and making sort of traditional style beers really, really well. Really well. And that is what County Durham Brewing Company seem to be doing.
All right.
Ingredients include water, malted barley, toasted wheat, not malted wheat and toasted barley, malted barley and toasted wheat, hops and yeast. It's a Cascade Pale Ale, so Cascadian hops, I'm guessing. And it's a nitro.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. Tell me more.
A nitro pale ale. It advises to shake before opening. Now, I've already had one of these. I've tried that. I don't want to take towels to my desk right now or my laptop. So I'm not going to do. What I'm going to do is maybe just kind of give it a little bit of a rotation.
From what I understand, with these nitro cans that aren't, say, like Guinness or anything like that, you actually when you pour it, you just turn it right over.
Yeah, perhaps that's what you do.
And just shotgun it right into the glass.
I have no idea what this is in reference to, if anything.
What's the brewery called, sorry?
There's a little bit of a francophone element, but on the tin it says, "Say what?"
Say what?
Now, this is just to be clear. This is very similar. In fact, it is as close a thing as I have found to a in a tin experience of what I would describe as a proper English pub ale.
Okay.
Pale ale at that, but
interesting.
And we're gonna, as you advise, turn it right over.
Well, that's how you get the nitro effect. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, wow. Check that out. Oh, and the M3 glass. Well done.
Yes, yeah. So we have this great sort of copper sort of color.
Looks beautiful.
Thick, manicured head.
It's a little bit darker than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It's almost. I mean, I'm getting just from the camera, I'm getting a little red tone going on there.
It is smooth in ways that only a nitro beer can be smooth. The fact that they call it a cask ale makes me think that that's not a mistake. That's what they were going for. Obviously, this is a little small for a cask. So what they've tried to do is figure out how to get that experience of sort of your hand-pulled traditional English beer in a tin. And my God, I think they've done it. I think they've succeeded. Velvety smooth.
Oh, that's it. I'm going to the airport. I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Hot and darkly brewed tea.
I so want to try this.
It's refreshing. The malt and the hops perfectly balanced. This is absolutely a class act. This is a fantastic beer.
Is that quaffable?
That's it. The show's over. We've achieved Nirvana. The beer pinnacle of success is done. We will now move to I don't know, shutting down the podcast.
Say what?
Say what? Wow, that's actually very high praise for a beer. That's amazing.
You know, I'm not somebody that holds back if I think something's not very good.
Absolutely.
This is not that.
That is true. So the beer on the west coast of the country in which we live is this one that Alan and I chose a few weeks back. Pêche Motel. So I gotta say the Alan, show off the. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, I love this this label.
Yeah,
this is from Dieu de Ciel.
Yeah,
in where? Oh, I'm sorry.
God.
This is from Europe. I thought this was from Quebec.
Are you sure?
It says it's imported from Europe. Or no. Brewed and bottled by microbrasserie Dieu de Ciel, Saint Jerome, Quebec. Then why does it say imported in Europe? But it was, I guess, Europeans.
It's available in Europe.
Yeah,
which is right. Quebec is making beers that the home turf are paying attention to. So that's good to know.
Now, interestingly, I just noticed this. It has a bottled on date on this. This is actually kind of old. This was bottled in September 2021.
Check my
September 2nd, 2021 at 1:49.
Our lot numbers are probably the same. So yeah, same day.
16.
I mean, this particular beer, being that it is supposed to be coffee based.
Yes, it's an imperial coffee
stout. It's very close to a barley wine, though, because like smell this thing.
I haven't opened mine yet.
I just opened mine.
It is bourbon barrel aged. It does come in at 9.5%.
Yeah, this thing will kill us all.
And to be clear, Shane and I have tried this before at Beer Fest this past year. And when I saw the bottles on the shelf at Cascadia Liquor in Victoria, I was like, oh, I got to get it. All right. Holy Moses.
I agree with you about the bottle looking cool. I would add that they have changed their bottle appearance. They used to have something that looked a little bit more like an Alphonse Mucha sort of painting kind of a thing.
Right.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I got to say that is
deep flavors.
And the coffee really comes through.
The coffee comes through. So does the bourbon. from the barrel aging.
From the barrels, yeah.
Yeah,
So on the back of the bottle, there's some really small type that I can't read.
Where?
Alan, what does it say at the very top there, above the coffee?
It's in a language I can't say. It's in English down below. Aromas of coffee, vanilla, and oak, underlined by archetypal bourbon flavors. Drink in moderation. Duh.
Well, I gotta say that does describe this particular beer.
Absolutely.
I mean, we complain quite a bit about beer that we've had in the past where the beer claims a particular flavor, but then doesn't really come through at all. It gets overwhelmed by malt or something else. But this one, there's probably been maybe 3-4 beers where we've actually had them and said, "Oh yes, the coffee flavor is coming through." But this one has it in a huge way.
No, this one's a winner. It comes at least in BC. It comes in these 341 ml bottles.
Mm-hmm.
So not bomber bottles or anything. It's just a very
at 9.5%. I don't think you'd want to risk it.
Exactly at 9.5%. That's
it seems to me like the format is something comparable to Orval or some of the other sort of higher percentage Belgians that you see on the sort of the import shelf.
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything to add to that. It's good. It's really good. It's a treat. It's not quaffable. It's not something that you could chug.
A sipping beer.
Yeah,
it's a sipping beer. You're gonna have this, and then probably nothing else. So it's not something that you're gonna take to a barbecue or parties or anything like that. This is sitting in front of the fireplace at home with the fam or something. You're having one beer.
Yeah.
For the night, this one's it.
Yeah, I mean, this one will lay you out. I mean, there's definitely it's like a bottle of wine. When people drink a bottle of wine, they there are people that can do that who are much younger than we are.
This thing is like port wine to wine, but this is like the port wine.
That's a better. It's an apt description. So we've had our beer.
Go
ahead.
How good's your French?
Sorry.
Would you care to translate the title of the beer?
We did look it up.
You know what I heard? I heard, "How good is your fridge?" I was like, "What?
How good is your fridge, dude? How good is your fridge?
How good is your fridge?"
We did look it up at one point, but I don't remember what it was. Passion Mortel.
It means mortal sin.
Yes.
At first, we thought it had to do with peaches, but
yeah.
Did
you want to tell him what your kid said?
Yeah, my kid saw this in the fridge. And he's like, "Dad, is that a peach flavored beer?" I'm like, "No, it's
not." No, child.
No, but it's close. It's a sin flavored beer.
Well, I think actually, when we were at Beer Fest, Shane and a friend of the show went up to the what place is this? Microbrassery.
You just
and went up to the thing and says, "So what is this a peach flavor?" And they're like, "No, it's not."
No, you're stupid and we hate you. You Anglophone. But yeah, I mean, honest mistake. But yeah, mortal sin. We did eventually realize what it actually said. And I gotta say, I can totally see why. So
it's a gooder.
We've had this beer. We're enjoying our beer. What's been going on in the world this past week?
What has been going on in this world the past week?
I haven't been paying attention. I've been working so hard. I haven't been able to pay attention to what's going on in the outside world. What is going on in the outside world?
I have no idea.
Okay,
but this is actually a good point, though.
Yeah.
Is I ran into just recently, about a week ago, just before, after the show from last week. I ran into somebody who's very well versed in what's going on in the world. They're very they watch the news a lot.
Was it Todd?
And I made the mistake of because they were asking me about what's going on in the States for the U.S. election and whatnot, and I said I don't know. I've watched a few monologues from a few late night shows, and there are comedy shows, and that's basically all I get because I don't really care. And but I was told that I was completely in the wrong, that I should be so aware of what's going on in the States. I need to get involved. I need to like protest, and I just kept thinking, you have way too much access to cable networks. You really need to go outside. And sure, should we be concerned about what's going on in the States? Yeah, I guess, but not to the point where
Can't do
after
anything
an
about
election where we should all fucking take up arms and storm the border. I don't know. Who knows? But it made no sense to me, and so I was just curious. Have you guys been keeping
The
up on what's
closest
going
I get
on?
to mainstream media really is The Economist, Reuters, and the Financial Times, and all of them agree that everybody right now is suffering from politics fatigue to the degree that even news channels are having to admit that they're losing audience on the basis of, God, haven't we just kind of fucking already done this? Is there really?
I would agree. I think we have a lot of fatigue, and I mean it's partly because of the whole COVID situation where we had a few years of complete, I don't know, nightmare fuel apparently every day. But at the same time, we've also we're seeing it in film, like the movie theaters. Movie theaters are trying to remain relevant. People have started going back, but they haven't really gone back in the numbers that we've had before the pandemic. But also, I mean, cable TV in general. And the reason I mentioned that as well is I was reading today about how Paramount is being sold again, which means that Star Trek is being sold again. But ultimately because that all of these companies that have made movies and TV for years decided they wanted a piece of the streaming pie and have put all their eggs in a single basket rather than sharing content and licensing and making money that way. So the prediction that I was reading this morning, which got me thinking about this, is that Paramount is going to be sold at some point, not necessarily to the people who are making offers right now, but the idea is that Paramount Plus, the streaming service that they made a big deal about, and just last year, like less than 6 months ago, moved all of their properties to, are going to reverse that and close Paramount Plus and move all their stuff back to places like Netflix or whatever.
So what do they do with the Paramount Plus subscribers?
Now, in my defense, I did it accidentally. I did sign up.
How do you accidentally do it?
I did. I fell prey to the, you sign up, you get your 14-day trial, then you forget that you did that. And then they suddenly like, oh yeah, you obviously want to keep going. I mean, it was $100 for a year. I mean, I'm like, well, okay, fine. But I did originally do that sort of process because Star Trek, all of the Star Trek things that I'm watching were moving there and being removed from other stuff. However, I will note that all of the Star Trek series, with the exception of the new ones, Discovery and Strange New Worlds, are still on Netflix. And then when I read this article, I'm like, oh, they're actually in the process of trying to get sold, so they need to divest themselves in something, and it looks like Paramount Plus, their streaming service, will be that thing. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't like monopolies, but in the case of streaming, I really hope that Disney buys all of them, It
It's
puts
sort of
everything on Disney Plus.
British Rail. It's sort of like British fucking rail, where it got privatized under Thatcher. Was it Thatcher or Major? I can't remember. I think it was Thatcher. And as a result, you had individual companies owning some stretch of track, so that you had to negotiate with, like, I don't know, 8 different carriers in order to make it from fucking London to Newcastle.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, that happened here too. Like, remember this is this pre-pandemic? It might have been during. I can't remember. But the company that owns the stretch of track from the main sort of trunk line in Winnipeg to Churchill, Manitoba, was privatized, and that company decided that it wasn't profitable enough, so they just let the track rot. They were like, "Yeah, fuck it."
yeah.
And then the government came along and said, "Are you stupid?" And I think that they took it back or did something to repair it, because it was in pretty bad shape, to the point where trains could no longer, go to Churchill.
Yeah. I've had this conversation with somebody who lives in Flin Flon.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. North America, being the size that it is, they don't realize the power of rail. We need rail. Until we replace it with something as reliable as rail, shit still moves by rail. And, when you have companies that are like, we can't, we need to get rid of gas vehicles, blah, 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 blah. We're talking like 18-wheelers taking stuff around the country. They are very short-sighted, which really sucks, where we should really be investing a huge amount of capital into building more rail across this country so that stuff can get reliably to where it is, because now we have worries of, tornadoes in Edmonton and, forest fires burning shit everywhere. And now, actually, just the other day, I was reading about how in British Columbia, we have this thing called Site C, which is a dam way the hell up in the middle of nowhere. And it's going to be the big producer for the province, and they want to be able to, have hydroelectricity, where we should be getting off of gas, and we should be getting off of everything else. But my argument is that we should have nuclear in this province, because in this article they were talking about how the snowpack, with all of the warm weather, we're not getting as much snow, so the water is a concern. I mean, not necessarily for Site C, but they were talking about other generating locations around the province where it's not a huge issue at the moment, but they're thinking, 10, 20 years out, what if we start getting no snow? What if we start losing the glaciers at a rate that we haven't seen yet? So all of the ability to produce hydroelectric power is going to be reduced. So therefore, should we be considering other sources that are, anyway, Locke, I see I absolutely have something.
I'm going to go with yes. Yes, we should. But nuclear in BC? I consider the Canadian Shield. The Canadian Shield isn't going anywhere. You don't get earthquakes.
Well, okay. From that perspective, yes. Then we should have nuclear in places that are not so, I don't know, shaky.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about mostly what Japan's just been through. So, it's not like there's no reason to be concerned.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree.
Perfect sense, because the Canadian Shield is as stable as fuck.
But that's what I'm saying, is that we need to have alternatives that are, I mean, people are afraid of nuclear. They're concerned about nuclear. And sure, yeah, if you have a major problem like Chernobyl. But here's the thing. Chernobyl was in 1986 based on a design from the 60s. So you kind of think that nuclear plants, that we do have a few of them in this country, that we should probably build a few more of those, because we've never been concerned about, I remember talking about the can-do reactors and these things back in the day. But the reality is,
which is, of course, why India and Pakistan have nuclear weapons, mind you. But
that too. That we'll ignore that part of history for the moment. But essentially, we have this technology that we can utilize that's relatively safe and all these kinds of things. And and build them in places where we're not too concerned about an earthquake taking them out. But people are too afraid of it. They are a little naive about it because the one thing they're talking about, a lot of it, is we're going to create a lot of nuclear waste. And part of this article that I was reading, where it was making the argument for nuclear in Canada, it's like every nuclear reactor that creates nuclear waste in a 12-month period creates like a less than a pound. And I think that they have this idea that because of things like Yucca Mountain in New Mexico, and other places where they've dug a big, huge hole into the earth to bury this stuff, it is not actually in actual amount. It's not really a whole lot. And if you want to bury, well, I mean, you have to bury it for a long time. Actually, there was some photographs running around of a bunker in the Ukraine, or Eastern Europe somewhere. I forgot exactly where they have the cap on it. They've actually filled, over the last 40 years, they've actually filled one section of it, and there's a cap on they seal it with concrete or lead or whatever they seal it with, but they actually have like a large plaque on it saying, don't open this for like at least 100,000 years, please. There's dangerous shit back here. Don't dig it up. It's not an archaeological find. Dragons beyond this door.
So basically, all that needs to happen is for either a sufficiently large solar flare or some sort of nuclear event such that there's an electromagnetic pulse that wipes out our information.
Well, yeah, I mean, you saw the ending.
What given what we know about humanity today, will they likely do when they find something that says beware, danger, do not open? What will they do?
They'll fucking open it. Of course they will.
Of course they'll open it.
But it's funny you say that, because I always, every time I think of electromagnetic pulses and the ending of technology, I always think of the ending of the film, which I saw in the theater. It was a terrible film, but Escape from L.A.
It wasn't a terrible film. It was awesome.
It was awesome.
Okay. Snake Plissken is awesome at any time. Okay, this is true. I would agree with that. But
it was a little bit jokey for a John
Jokey,
Carpenter.
Okay, that's a good description.
But
the very end of him being like, welcome to the real world, or whatever the hell it was. I forgot.
I'm with Plissken there, man. Yeah, I pressed that button.
I would be the same. I would press the button too, because there's, if you want to stop anything on this planet, you need to take out the electronics that do it. And we're seeing it in the Ukraine. Actually, there was a big, huge push for drones in the Ukraine. So a bunch of companies actually crowdfunded, basically mainlining printing 3D printers to make drones.
I think in BC, we have other options for power generation. We just need to be a little bit creative about it. I mean, not just here in BC, but globally. There's forces that are available that we can just harness into power.
And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, think about what people have done with wind. Think about what people have done with solar. Think of what people have done with tidal energy. Now,
I'm thinking tidal energy.
Imagine that we could rein in and use the power of forest fires, because BC gets a shit ton of them.
That's true. Well, here's the problem: is generation has never been the main issue. We are able to generate this stuff. Like Julian,
it's
friend of the show,
being able to generate
consistently, but that's not the big thing. It's storing that energy, and that has been always the crux of all of this. Where, like if you think of something like a machine, like an AT-AT from Star Wars, for the Battle of Hoth, big machine.
Yeah.
What kind of energy would you need to be able to power a device like that? If you think of something that large, and it would require a lot of power to run it. And looking at those devices, I could never see a combustion engine being powerful enough to generate enough energy for it. And that's the big deal. Pretend for a moment that we're able to generate that power for a machine like that. That would be great. We have some sort of technological breakthrough. We've got some ability to generate power that can scale, but on a global scale, storing that energy is going to be the major problem. And you think of like Star Trek. I'm on about Star Trek today. Remember when the whales were talking to space aliens and shit?
There be whales here.
There's and the whole effect of that in that film about the this big probe thing would show up and wag its dick at you and your power would go away.
Yeah.
But I remember in a scene where they're talking about where it gets to Earth and it's really messing with the planet. And they're talking a lot about in the background. If you've watched this movie as many times as I have, there's all of this chatter in the background talking about how there are global battery emplacements that are, providing power should we not be able to generate solar energy. And I always thought that was fascinating. And, then I forgot about it. The world, took over and I was living my life. And then Tesla started to create these gigawatt storage facilities or whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah.
So, but still they have issues where they're not able to do certain things because of the limitation of storage ability. And then, sorry, this is a long rant. Yeah. And then I was reading about, and I watched a video about it because a YouTuber that I like did a cover of this, where somewhere in the middle of England, there's this system where basically they have a cave where they have a bunch of water in it and a turbine. And during the day, during the night, the water is pumped from a cave into an upper cave above the turbine. And then during the day, it's pouring that water through that turbine, or maybe it's a series, I don't know exactly, but when you think about it, that's a battery. It's like but it's water moving through a turbine, and they're using that energy to put that water back up.
Are you saying that somebody in England has built a Newtonian perpetual motion machine?
No. It's basically it could be a former salt mine. I don't remember exactly the details, but essentially 2 large underground storage facilities.
Here's my question. Does it sustain itself?
Yes, because as the energy, they store enough energy to pump the water back up to the upper chamber to then let gravity do its thing into the lower chamber. Sure. I don't think they would call it that, but that's, yeah. Anyway, I just thought it was fascinating that these kinds of technologies kind of exist where when you think of that, all a battery is storing energy, and that's kind of the same idea.
That seems to disobey Coulomb's second law, which is energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one.
It doesn't sound to me like it's doing that. It sounds to me like it's actually taking the energy and just repurposing it back and forth.
Yeah,
I suppose.
Exactly.
Which is why
they're doing it in a controlled way.
And the fact that it's not doing the law, rather through gravity and whatnot, it would be the Newtonian element, but it's not creating energy. It's not destroying any. It's just cycling it.
It's cycling it, but then you don't end up with any net positive. Then
that's fine. If you can create a perpetual motion device, that's close enough.
Okay. This is what I'm thinking. This is going to be the answer to our energy concerns, and it just needs somebody to think of a way to actually harness it. And we have this thing orbiting around us called the moon, and there's this gravitational pull, this gravitational connection between the Earth and the moon, and we're kind of in this dance. It's rotating around us every single day, and the amount of forces that the Earth and the moon exert on each other are huge. If we could find a way to harness even just a little bit of that energy for ourselves, all of our energy concerns would be taken care of.
I'm going to put this in the back channel.
Effectively what title
It is essentially, yeah.
Is about, yeah.
All right, I put it in the back channel. You guys can research it on your own.
Okay.
It is actually in North Wales. It is called Electric Mountain. That is but it's actually called.
That's exactly.
And this is a Welsh name, so I'm not going to pronounce it properly. But the Dinorrig Power Station, locally known as the Electric Mountain. Yeah. Basically, it is a pumped storage hydroelectric system that has 2 reservoirs, and they move water between the bottom reservoir and the upper reservoir underground, and it is able to generate a bunch of electricity while it is pouring water through, and then they use that energy to pump it back up. So it has I'm assuming it's a 24-hour cycle. I sent you the link. Figure it out. You guys know how to read.
Cool. Yeah.
But essentially, yeah, it is basically a battery in theory. So, but it's water and gravity and, creating that.
It's interesting.
That ability. So now that's hydroelectric. But again, back to the whole idea of long-term investment in nuclear energy. I'm not saying that it's the perfect answer. I'm just saying that of all of the technologies we've talked about, at least right now, it's the most reliable in the generation of electricity. So, but again, I wish we would invent Y energy, which is a fictional energy in a book called Beggars Would Ride. So I highly recommend you read that book.
All we need is Mr. Fusion.
Honestly, if we could do that without blowing up the universe, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Fusion energy, man. That's where it's at. Not fission.
Now, fusion energy does exist. It has run. But the problem
not in
still
any kind
is,
of practicality sense.
Oh God, no. But the amount of energy being poured into it is way too high.
Yeah.
But imagine that actually becoming a thing. Like that to me would be, at least in our current state, would be kind of an awesome thing to do. But again, it still has all these issues, and storing energy, of course, has changed. There's like a nickel metal hydride was a big deal for a while. Now we have lithium ion, and now there's a newer one called lithium cobalt, I think. No, not cobalt. Lithium carbon.
Fusion reaction is basically creating your own little sun, your own star, and letting it do that, its process that way, and then harnessing that energy. It's cool. If we get to that point,
we create a black hole, and the Earth gets sucked into a black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time I had somebody lucidly explain how this would work to me, it was actually back in the 1980s. And they sounded like they were making sense. I'm just not 100% sure that they were. As goes on in the sun.
That's right.
But in such a limited state that it doesn't become a fucking sun.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. and that's the tricky bit, that it sounds like might take some doing.
Well, this is why we don't have it. This is why we don't have it.
Well,
yeah.
It's somewhat of a pipe dream. A lot of people say fusion energy generation just isn't going to happen. It's a pipe dream.
Well, people.
Well, the average Starfleet ship has several of them running, so
Yeah, that's fiction.
Damn it!
Speaking of fiction, I remind me again. Have either of you gentlemen taken the time to read any of Stanislav Lem?
I have not.
Okay.
Tell me more.
Polish science fiction writer. He is most famously known for a book that I have never read, because I have seen 2 movies based on the book, both of which were so excruciatingly dull that I can't imagine anybody being able to make it through that fucking book, making me think that it's just a lie.
What's it called?
The book is called, the movies, both of them, both the communist one and the American one, are called Solaris.
Solaris. Okay.
Yeah, please never watch that film.
Okay.
Either of them. They
are. I was gonna say, like, we're talking about the one that was made in the 70s, or
and a thorough waste of 3 hours that you will never get back. Though admittedly shorter than Martin Scorsese's fucking 3.5 hour epic that he's just released. But never mind that. The work that I'm impressed by is his short stories and a thing he did called 1 Human Minute, which, so where we are historically is pretty much on track with his speculation as to the military history of I can't remember if it was the 22nd or the 23rd century, but he wrote a fictional piece purporting to be nonfiction, but that was a review of a book review of a work on the military history of the 23rd century. And it was discussing the use of drones.
Interesting. Tell us more.
Well, he speculates that in the end, we give up on war because we find out that it is, in fact, actually futile. Because following the introduction of drones, the drones became more efficient, smaller. We realized we didn't actually need full-blown artificial intelligence. Artificial instinct would do the trick. And if you unleash a swarm of these things, you can cause massive, massive destruction. What can defeat that? You would need to round them all up somehow, or somehow disable them. How exactly? And this is why it seems interesting that all of the military naval bloggers that I occasionally watch, and I'm not religiously or anything, but occasionally watch on YouTube, seem to be sort of all kind of coming to the conclusion that the days of the aircraft carrier are kind of numbered in the age of the drone, because how are you going to launch aircraft if you get a swarm of drones that can effectively just move around to block you wherever you try to take off?
That is true. I mean, we've seen it at a few years back at Gatwick Airport, where some idiot was flying a drone around and basically shut the airport down for quite a while. Like days, but and then it went away, and then it came back later, I seem to remember. But essentially, yeah, I mean, you have all these kinds of concerns. I mean, I have played a video game in the last couple of years called Breakpoint, and the whole story of this game is that you are a Ghost Recon, Tom Clancy dude, and you are deployed to an island where there is a sort of a Jeff Bezos kind of character who has basically created an island, or this island he's purchased, and turned it into kind of a utopian sort of world. But it's based on the fact that the technology is so advanced. And one of the things that they talk about is that the reason people can't get to the island or leave the island without authorization is that any boats, any planes that try to leave this small set of islands are basically just destroyed by swarms of drones. The drones they crash into your boat, sink your boat. They crash into your plane, crash your plane. So yeah, I mean, it's actually legitimately a fear of mine of this whole idea that autonomous drones that would fly around like a flock of birds and have some control over stop that thing and don't let that happen. If those things were released into the world, I mean, that would be just devastating. There's a Black Mirror episode from I think not the latest season, but the season before, where a company had created drones of wasps or bees or something like an insect, and they were basically using these insects to kill people. They were like, we need to assassinate that person. Let's have a whole bazillion amount of these things fly at their house. And eventually, once they get in, they basically drill into your brain through your ear and kill you.
As long as they don't look like spiders, I'm okay then.
It's like, could you imagine? Oh my God, Alan would be like
drone
burying
spiders.
himself in a rock. Forget it about. But that's the thing, right? Like, because the drones are one thing that we have a conceptual idea of what a drone in theory will look like these days. But imagine miniaturizing that on an insect level. Like, you could do so much damage that way. And a lot of the time you wouldn't really know until somebody's pulling your head apart going, yep, there's a drone in the center of their brain. Like, so, I mean, it will eventually happen. I mean, the problem is the technology, you're not going to stop it from being developed.
North Korea is watching right now.
Yeah,
hey, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea. Well, here's the thing. Like, there's my biggest fear, actually, years ago, as in, like, I don't know, just before the pandemic, is some idiot with a biological 3D printer printing off a virus that they've manipulated just for the shits and giggles of it. And suddenly you're hearing "Don't fucking fear the Reaper" by Blue Oyster Cult, and we're all dead. You know, like the film / book / miniseries, The Stand by Stephen King. The big bad virus that they created was, and I quote, "It's just a souped up version of the flu." Like, they just took the flu and said, hey, can we make this even deadlier? And then it got out, and yeah, sure enough, it wiped out like 90% of the planet. So
crazy.
But, you know, that's always my fear of, like, some idiot in their basement just being like, I bought this thing off of eBay. It's awesome. Oh, you can print out all kinds of cool stuff. And then suddenly, like, we're all fucking gasping for air because some idiot thought it would be funny. And I'm not concerned about, you know, the government's going to come get you and control you with viral blah, blah, blah. No, it's going to be some fucking moron.
Pieces.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be some tool who just decides, you know, hey, I got this printer and I could do stuff with it. So if I, like, move these things around and then they stumble across some really horrible, virulent, fucking killer bug, then, you know, anyway.
Mr. DNA.
Dino DNA. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that it's that whole idea. They never thought if they didn't stop to think if they should do it. You know, it's something, but you know that somebody's going to do it anyway. It's like, that's the problem, is that a lot of people would be like, oh, we better not fuck around with that technology because that'll be a bad idea because suddenly we're going to, like, wipe out half the population of our own planet. And then there's some idiot, you know, 4 countries
like
over being like,
on a bunch of toxic waste saying, do not open this for 100,000 years. We mean it. I
mean, basically our species is fucked. I mean, is really the big argument to be made, is that we're too stupid to realize that we're really stupid. And, you know, eventually something's going to happen and then we're going to wander around. The survivors wander. How did this happen? I don't know how this even started. Because somebody was too stupid to know they were dumb. And, you know, for whatever reason, either ideological or just because they're stupid, decide it's a good idea. So basically, the Crafty Boys are predicting, you heard it here first, on the 26th day of January 2024. Fucked.
Hey, isn't this like basically this week the 9-year anniversary of our?
This actually, you're correct. There was this, didn't I think I'd have to look it up again, but I think it was the 17th of January.
That was like the end of January.
Something like that, yeah. So basically we've been doing this for 9 years. This show has been around for that long. We probably have 500 hours of stuff sitting out there on YouTube.
At least.
And so congratulations to us. But also, more importantly, I'm looking forward to 10. So there you go. I can't
Congratulations
believe it's
to
been
all
that
of the
long.
people, all the 40 followers that we
The
have.
40 followers.
that we have
Let me look.
accrued over
Have
9
we got
years.
more 40 followers? Let's take a look here. Maybe we've got more. You never know. We have drum roll 52 subscribers. How the hell did that happen?
Just on YouTube, though, right?
Just on YouTube. I'm
Yeah,
sure
right.
there's
We have like a whole
well,
bunch on Facebook and
you know, you're right. We should put all of those numbers together and we'll probably hit about 62.
probably maybe 70.
But you know, we've been doing this for fun. We have a member who's currently not around. He's been busy doing other stuff, so hopefully he'll come back at some point. But you know, Locke, I'm very stoked that you've stuck out this show for as long as you have, considering you're now in a different time zone. So
Well, let's
cheers
see
to
here.
that.
So he's gone from Vancouver to Portland to Toronto, sometimes in the Muskokas.
That's right.
I think you've done stuff. You've connected from Calgary.
Yes.
You've connected from here in Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're kind of like a world.
I've connected from Winnipeg and somewhere in between there in Bertle.
And I think there was one time you
That's right.
you even connected in from England.
I might have done, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
In a
that
pub.
is true. At a pub, that's right. I have a vague memory of that. That is true, though.
Yeah.
I do believe you were there 2018? 2019, maybe?
I don't know.
Something like that.
I don't remember.
I'm the correspondent of the
The
group.
correspondent, that's right.
That's right.
And we're going to Locke, who's in the field right now. He is currently in. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I had not really thought about the whole 9-year thing just in the past few weeks. So that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
We're doing well. We're surviving.
We're having fun.
You know, exactly. And that's why we do the show, boys and girls out
So,
there. Who have watched.
and actually, before we go off here, I just want to mention that when we started this, Shane said that we'd probably last maybe a year because we'd run out of beers to try.
That's true.
And I said, no. There's new beers popping up all the time. We got an endless supply.
That is true because I have slowly been going through the spreadsheet and making sure to update episodes. Like today, for example, this episode I might get to sometime next year, and I'll be like, "Oh, Locke had blah 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 blah, and Alan and I had this," and then I will document that, add it to the map, and because we do have a website, I think. Do we still have a website? I'm pretty sure we do.
You know, there is regular run beers that are brewed locally here that we haven't even tried yet.
We do have a. We still.
I
have
know
a
that's
website.
true.
That's
I
awesome.
know that it's true.
Oh
because
yeah.
Some of them just don't look that appealing.
Oh yeah, they don't look appealing like they don't look as special as say this. But
Yeah.
they're out there and we could do them. We just haven't.
That is true. You know what's really funny? I had forgotten we had a. I forgot we actually had a bloody
Website.
Wow. Our website actually does stuff. That's awesome. We're live. I just went to thecraftyboys.ca and there I've set it up. I don't know when I did this, but the live stream is running. And granted, I haven't updated it since 2019. But you know, eventually I'll get around to it.
Sure.
But yeah, there are definitely things that we've done, and you're right. We never ran out of beer because if you look at the brewery map that I have not updated probably since 2019, you'll still see there's at least a couple hundred breweries on that list, and you know, eventually I get around to like updating it and stuff. But you know, it's a historical document now. I actually quietly, I haven't really mentioned this, but I've quietly been going through episodes and ripping the audio and turning them into audio podcasts.
Oh, cool.
And putting them on archive.org so that, when in theory, the mandate of archive.org is that long after us three are long dead in the ground, that people could stumble across these digital artifacts.
Podcast.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be stumbling. Oh my God! Look at this. There's like.
Can you imagine, like
episodes.
300 years from now, we are going to be like, super famous, and
well, one of the things I have been wanting to do, which I have not done, is actually download all the video and put that on archive.org as well, so that even if YouTube evaporates into the ether, knock on wood, archive.org is still around. So that's its mandate: collect all digital material and keep it safe forever. Right. So they could have the audio version and they could watch our stupid faces once in a while.
Cool.
We'll be talked about in universities. They'll be like studying back in the early 2000s.
Let's check out what these morons are saying.
And I, for one, will welcome our new Ferengi overlords, the Exchequer, or whatever the hell that the
Grand
material was. It the continual, the material continuum or whatever, something material continuum. As you can tell, I've been watching Deep Space Nine lately. But anyway, thank you all for watching. We've had a few people watching today. We certainly hope that you will check us out next week. We do tend to stream around this time on Friday evenings, having a beer. Why not come hang out with us? Have a beer yourself and tell us about what it is, and we could talk about it. You never know. You could come on the show too. We're not picky. We're just doing this for fun. Yep. Because, although we would not say no to people who want to sponsor us, but, our audience of, ignore what we said earlier, our audience is millions. They're a legion.
Yes.
But anyway, Locke, thank you for coming again, sir. It is now very late where you are. Go to bed. Enjoy a good sleep, and I will follow very shortly.
Cool.
And thank you for all the things.
And Hotel. Go have it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go get that. And remind me what the beer was, Locke.
Owl's Cask Ale.
Yes. So go find that if you can in Ontario. Sadly, it's probably not out here. But as always, the Crafty Boys is sponsored by Craftyland, approved by Greta. Thank you, Greta. Because you did wrong button. But see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.
How does this show end? Let's get out of here.